everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. Today we are working on a stitch tutorial. It's lovely having you guys here. If this is your first time here, I'm Karen and I love everything crochet and crafty. And it's always lovely to have you guys join me on my crochet journey. So for today's stitch tutorial lesson, we are going to be learning how to crochet the star stitch. And you're actually getting a little sneak peek on a project that I have coming up for you guys in the future. And so you can see it creates this lovely texture, and you can see the little spikes of the stars there. And now it's not reversible per se. So that's the back, and this is the front of the work. So we're going to be working on this in this tutorial on a flat project. It's a 2-row repeat, so that means it takes 2 rows of working the pattern to create the star. And it creates a nice kind of dense fabric. You can do this with a bulky yarn, a thinner yarn. I always like to work a medium 4-ish yarn for this stitch. And it just works up a lovely, lovely pattern. And you can create so many different types of projects with this. Most easily to work on is like a scarf or a blanket. But you can certainly use this for hats and mittens and sweaters, cardigans, pullovers, all kinds of things. So let's get started and learn how to crochet the star stitch. Okay, so for this project, I'm going to be using just some leftover yarn here. It's a medium 4-weight yarn, and this happens to be the Peyton's Canadiana yarn, in case you're wondering. I actually really like this yarn. It's super lovely to work with. It's a medium size 4, in case you're wondering, and I'll be using a 5mm crochet hook, which is also known as an H or a size 8. And for any crochet project, you always want to make sure that you have a handy pair of scissors and a darning needle on hand to sew in any ends. So let's get started on our stitch here. So we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And this pattern requires a stitch multiple of 2 plus 1 at the end. So that means you can chain up any number that you desire, depending on the length of your project, as long as it's in multiples of 2, and then at the end we add 1. So for the case of the swatch here, I am just going to chain up 10. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Actually, I think I'm going to do 20 because this yarn is a little bit on the thinner side. So we're going to go for 11, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, there we go. And once you have the number of chains that you desire in an even count, you're going to add an additional 1. So I now have 21 chains. Now we're going to begin to create the first row of our star stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the second chain from the hook. We never count the loop that's on the hook. You're going to count 1, 2, and into that second chain, what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook and just pull up a loop. Then you're going to go into the next chain and pull up a loop. And you're going to go into the next chain and pull up a loop. So when you first start this project, you want to keep pulling up loops until you have 6 loops on your hook. So I currently have 4. So I need to go into the next one and pull up, and the next one and pull up. So I now have 2, 4, 6 loops on my hook. And once I do that, I yarn over and I'm going to pull through all 6 of those loops. So you want to be careful they don't get them caught. Pull through all 6, and then you're going to chain 1. And that is the first portion of your star. So you can see how when you've gathered all of those loops, that's what creates the bottom legs of the star. Now, when I chained 1, I wanted you to notice that I did not chain tightly. It's really important to leave a little bit of a gap there. That is what we call the eye of our star, because now for subsequent stars, you want to begin by going back into the eye there. So that's what we're going to do now. To create the next star, you're going to insert your hook into the eye, pull up a loop, and now what you want to do is you want to find the leftmost leg. That means the leg that is to furthest to the left. So these are what I call the little legs of the star. So that's it right there. And I'm going to insert my hook in between there so that I can pull up the next loop. Okay, so now I have 3 loops on the hook. And now the stitch where that leg was worked into, see that? You're going to insert your hook into there, pull up another loop, and now you're going to insert into each of the next 2 stitches. So we have 1 and we have 2. That's the next chain there. Okay, and then I check. Do I have 6 loops? 2, 4, 6. I have 6 loops. Now I yarn over and I'm going to pull through all 6 of those loops, and then I'm going to yarn over and loosely chain 1 to create the next eye of my star. And there you have it. See, so that was the first star and this is the second star. So each star is built off the previous star. And at all times, your goal is to acquire 6 loops onto your hook. So let's do that again. So we go into the eye of that last star, pull up a loop. Now we find the left leg. Sometimes it gets bunched in there. See how tiny it is? That's why you want to be careful you don't pull too tightly or stitch too tightly. So you may have to just help it along. Insert your hook to pull up the next loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook. And now this chain here has been worked in by the last loop of the star stitch of the previous stitch. So you insert there, and now you'll insert into each of the next 2 chains. So we have 1 and we have 2. 2, 4. I have 6 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through all 6 and chain 1. So now you can see that those stars are really starting to form. And that's what you're going to do all the way to the end of your row. But I know it's kind of tricky. I'm going to do this one more time with you guys. Ultimately, we want 6 loops on our hook. We technically already have 1. We're going to go into the eye for our second one. We're going to go in between the left leg there for our third one. And we're going to go into the last stitch worked of that star stitch for our fourth. And then we've got 2 more there for our fifth and our sixth loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, then we yarn over and we pull through all 6 and chain 1. So there you go. Okay, this is row 1 of the star. So I'm going to let you go ahead and finish that to the end of your row. You will come to the end and have 1 stitch left, and I'm going to meet you there when you've got that stitch remaining. And that is my last star stitch there. So I have been able to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 star stitches there, okay? And now I've got 1 stitch left. So what we're going to do is into the very last stitch right there. So remember that one has just been worked. We're just going to place a half double crochet. And that is how you're going to end every odd numbered row of this stitch pattern, okay? So it always finishes with a half double crochet. And so that completes row 1 of your star stitch. And don't worry if you feel like there's a bit of a gap sitting there. That is totally normal, okay? And of course, depending on your yarn, sometimes that closes in a little bit more. Okay, so for row 2, what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. So this is the back of your stitch. And you want to be able to identify the little eyes of the stars. So there's 1, there's 1. So remember how we did that chain 1? This is what we're going to work into for row 2. So into every eye, we are going to place 2 half double crochet stitches. So you'll yarn over insert into the eye, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops, and pull through all 3. That's a half doubles, and we need to do 1 more. Okay, just like that. And so now I go to the next eye right there. So row 2 is a little bit easier to find the stitches because we're just looking for the eyes of that star. And we're going to place 2 half double crochets into each of those spots. Nice and easy. Okay, so 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, so go ahead and finish that to the end of your row, and I will meet you there. Okay, once you've placed 2 half double crochets into the very last eye, you have 1 stitch sitting right there. So what we want to do is just place a half double crochet into that stitch, and that ends off row number 2, just like that. So in total now, when you count your stitches, you are going to have 18 stitches across the way. That's the back. Now when I turn over my work, you can see that our stars are complete, okay? So each star essentially has 2 stitches it represents along the top. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stars. So 8 stars times 2 stitches, that's 16. But remember that we had 1 stitch flanking each side, which gives us a total of 18. So that's how you want to keep track of your work. In my case, I start off with the 21 stitches or 21 chains, and remember 3 of those chains came up around the side. So that left me with 18 chains, and therefore when I build up my work, I'm going to continuously have, I should have 18 stitches. Okay, so basically your star stitch is complete. So now we would return back to row number 1, which is an odd number row. So let's take you through that again. So when we start row 1 again, we now want to chain 3. Okay, so we chain 3. You can turn your work right away, or you can wait, like sometimes I like to wait, and I'm going to go into the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to insert to pull up a loop. I go down to the next chain, I insert to pull up another loop, and now I can fully turn my work. Okay, now this first stitch here, this is the base of this chain 3, so we're going to go into there, pull up another loop, and now right now I've got 4 loops on my hook. I need 2 more. Yeah, so now I'm going to work into each of the next 2 stitches. So now I've got nice even stitches, or nice open stitches to find and look into. And now I have 2, 4, 6 loops. I yarn over, I pull through all 6 and chain 1, and there you go. So that's the next layer up of your star stitch. And then again we go back into the eye, we pull up a loop into the left leg there, pull up the second, pull up the next one, because we just worked out of that stitch. So we have 4 loops, we need 2 more. So into the next stitch and into the next stitch. Yarn over, 2, 4, 6, pull through all 6, yarn over, and chain 1. Now sometimes it looks like there's that little kind of bump there. It all depends, like some people would actually pull up this stitch here. You can if you want to. It all depends also if you're going to do a board or not, but it does even out. Like you can see this star is sitting on top of that one. So don't let that fool you or hopefully bother you. So let's do that again. You're going to go into the eye of the stitch for 1, into the left leg, and see where this stitch has been worked, but we're going to pull into that one and then into the next 2. Okay, so we're always looking to get 6 loops onto our hook, yarn over, pull through all 6, and chain 1. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this row again, and I will work subsequent rows because I want you guys to see really the full effect of it. Okay, so go ahead and finish your row 3 as well. which is the same technically as row 1, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, and I have one more stitch left here. Now in this case, this is the top of that chain 2, so I'm just going to place a half double crochet into that stitch, and that just evens out my row really nicely. Okay, just like that. And now I'm ready to repeat row 2, which is an even number row. So row 2 means I'm going to chain 2, I'm going to turn my work, and now you can really see there's presenting themselves. I'm going to work into all of the eyes of that star stitch. So this is a stitch, this is the eye. So the eye has all of those loops coming out of it, and see the stitch are the ones that are presenting horizontally. Okay, we want to go into the eyes. So you would yarn over, place a half double crochet, and another half double crochet into the eye of that stitch. And I'm going to do it again. So 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2. Okay, and I think you know what to do by now. You're just going to keep placing 2 half double crochets, sorry, I keep saying doubles, 2 half double crochets into each eye all the way to the end of your row. When you get to the end of row number, well, this one is row 4, but to the end of any even numbered row, you're always going to have 1 stitch left, and then right into that last stitch. Actually, let me just finish this row because I think it's going to be important for you guys to be able to identify. So I've got one more eye there. Whoops. And one more half double crochet. So we've got one, you know you have 1 stitch left, but some people might go, well, where the heck is it? If I turn my work here, remember when we chained 3? You want it to be in the top of that chain 3, okay? So you're going to yarn over, and the top of that chain 3 is right there. Now, I always try to make sure I have 2 loops I'm working with, so it gives it more sustenance. Some people might just go, well, the chain 3 is right here, so they would just pick up that loop. You can do that. I feel like 1 little loop is not strong enough, so that's why a lot of times I will actually pick up this right here, and that's why sometimes it looks like it's jutting in, but it's really not. Whoops, this yarn keeps getting away from me. Okay, and so when you turn your work, see, I just pulled that loop there, so it's looking a bit off, but generally speaking, in the grand scheme of your work, it's all going to even out. Okay, so that is the front of your star stitch. I just love how that looks, and that is the back. Okay, so in the back you can see a little bit of the ridges there, but you don't really see too much of a pattern. So the front part is where you see your star stitch. So for the next row, we're working an odd numbered row. So what would we do? We would do chain 3 and then pull up all those loops again like we did last time. So I'm just going to do that one more time. So we always begin every odd numbered row with 1, 2, 3. Turn your work, or in this case, I don't turn my work. I like to actually be able to work into the loops. Second chain from the hook, I pull up 1, and then I go into the next chain, I pull up 2, and at this point, see, the work is actually turning itself there. And then I go into the very first stitch there, and I check, okay, I've got 4 loops, I need 2 more. 1 and 2. See, just like that. And then I yarn over and pull through all 6, and that now gives me my first stitch in this row. Okay, so I hope you guys found that actually quite doable. And again, if you just take your time, go through it step by step. This is the beauty of having videos. You can press pause, rewatch things, and see how it all works. And you can create a really, really pretty project. So of course you can do blankets. A baby blanket would be really pretty with this stitch. Scarves, of course, hats, mitts, sweaters, cardigans. I mean, you can. This project lends itself to anything. Now, some of you may wonder, well, how would I work this stitch in the round? Well, stay tuned for an upcoming stitch tutorial on how to do the star stitch in the round. So what I wanted to do is give each of these stitches their very own video, whether you're working them in the flat project or in the round. That way you guys can just check the playlist and reference them anytime you like with ease. So for any of these slightly more intermediate stitches, there is a playlist on the channel, and it's called Beyond the Basics Stitches. And in that playlist, you will find all kinds of different stitches. And that simply means anything beyond learning your slip stitch, single crochet, double crochet, triple crochet. Those are considered like the basics, which I also have a playlist for the basic stitches. These would all be considered beyond the basics. And I'll actually leave a link to that playlist in the description box down below. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick little video tutorial. I'm curious to see what project you're going to use this stitch for. And hey, what color you're going to use as well. I always love to, I'm very curious to see what colors that people choose and the color designs. I just think it's so interesting. In any case, hope you enjoyed it. Please do let me know if you have any requests or suggestions. Leave them for me in the comment box down below, and I'll be very happy to address them. You can also reach me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com, and visit me on the website at crochetcrafty.com and subscribe to the newsletter. I give away a free written pattern every month. And if you haven't already pressed that subscribe button, I invite you to do so. Come and hang out with me every week, and let's have some crochet fun together. So in the meantime, everyone, have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take very good care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next session. Bye-bye.